Hi, everybody. It's Stacy Silva with Salon Today Conversations. And today I'm with Lauren Wanamaker. She's the Senior Director of Development for WellBiz. And tell us a little bit about that company. I know that you're taking over franchising rights for Drybar, but what other companies are in the mix?
Yeah, so WellBiz is really a platform for health and beauty franchise concepts. And really, all of our brands focus on the most important thing, which is the people in our businesses. So we have Elements Massage, which is a therapeutic massage brand with just over 250 locations. We have a concept called Fitness Together, which is private personal training. And then we have a brand called Amazing Lash Studio with about 260 locations, and those are private suite eyelash extension services. And then we just recently acquired actually another brand called Lunchbox Wax. And of course, immediately prior to that, had acquired Drybar.
Great. So what does that relationship with Drybar entail?
So essentially, we are the franchisor. So we really act as the support structure for our franchisees. And so we provide all of the resources around really helping them to recruit and retain the best teams possible. Of course, that relates to our front desk staff, which is the bartender role, as well as our stylists, managers. We have a huge infrastructure on our team at WellBiz, really helping and facilitating franchisees in that process and really guiding them in, of course, making sure that we have happy stylists and keeping them for a long time and creating really valuable and long-term career paths for them. So, that's one facet of the support that we provide. Of course, there are an incredible amount of marketing tools and resources, operational business tools, you name it, we have a tool, an infrastructure, a resource around that. And that's our primary function, is to support our franchisees. And then, of course, part of that is also developing new locations. So we are absolutely in a phase where we are seeking the right franchise partners to grow in new markets. And it's just a really great point in time for the brand in that growth, because of course we have all of this additional support and infrastructure at the WellBiz level. And, of course, everybody knows and loves Drybar and the experience that they've always provided our consumers. So it's a great marriage, really, from a brand that was already coveted and well-established to, of course, the WellBiz side of things, which is really just adding on an additional layer of support and infrastructure, whether you're an existing shop owner or looking to open a new shop. And that goes all the way through the real estate and site selection process to build out really every aspect.
So what states is Drybar in now, and what are your growth plans? Where are you intending to grow?
Yeah, so we are in close to 30 states. And really, a lot of those similar markets still have a lot of growth opportunity as well. So we're kind of growing in some of these existing markets, but then we're also really opening up the opportunity in some markets that may not have been, in the top 50 MSAs in the country, because there are, of course, consumers that have this great need to have their hair styled on a regular basis, who don't want to have to do it themselves everywhere, and a large density of those consumers. So there are truly, markets all over the country that still have room for growth, room for opportunity, whether they're, again, a bigger top 50 market or some of the smaller markets around the country that we haven't tapped into yet.
How does Drybar differentiate itself from its competition?
Yeah, so it's truly the experience and the way that we make our guests feel. Every single detail, and this is, of course, what we can attribute to Ali Webb, the founder. She did such a phenomenal job not overlooking any detail in the shop experience, so that every single aspect, even from, like you're having today, a rainy day in Tallahassee, if you had a blowout, you would be leaving with a free umbrella so that you didn't mess up your blowout. So there is no detail that was overlooked. And I think that's, of course, a huge part of it. And then also, it's really similarly, the experience is built in the culture. So it's the teams that we build and it's the culture that we have in our shops that really give you that feeling when you walk into a Drybar, whether you're a stylist working at a Drybar or a consumer coming in to get a blowout, you feel the energy. And that's something that, of course, we take incredibly seriously when we're looking at awarding a new franchisee, is that they really live and breathe that culture and ensure that they're going to build that out in their own shop with their own teams, because that's really the secret sauce of Drybar. Of course, we have a phenomenal line of retail products that are sold, outside of Drybar locations that is, really a loved product line around the country. So that's a big differentiator because people know Drybar because of our products as well. But really it comes down to the experience and the way that we make our guests feel. And you really can't get that anywhere else. There's something to be said for all of those details that go into our consumer experience and really our service path.
And you touched on it a little bit, but what makes the ideal franchisee to you?
Yeah.
In addition to being willing to embrace the culture, but what kind of skill set are you looking for?
Yeah, the most important skill set, and it's really not even a skill set, it's something that I think is pretty innate in a lot of people and something that we look for, which is really the ability to build and motivate a team, right? And that really is the most important aspect. So of course, they have to be willing to invest the time in their shop, invest the time in their team. It's not an absentee model by any means. You have to be invested in spending time in the location and getting to know and building that team yourself. But really the biggest quality that we look for, which is kind of uncovered through a series of interviews and conversations in our discovery process, is really just ensuring that this individual that we're bringing on to the Drybar brand and helping to kind of carry out our mission is really, really invested in their team, because it's truly all that matters in our shops is the people. And so, if they have that kind of innate ability to motivate and build up their team and really enjoy that aspect of it, you have to love the people side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really the biggest factor. We can take care of the real estate. We can take care of the marketing. We can do all of those things, but we can't build your team for you, and we can't retain your team and keep them happy. So that's truly the most important piece.
So what kind of business model do you offer to potential franchisees?
Yeah, so the business model itself, of course, at our core, it's a membership model. So it really does create recurring revenue. And that is, at the end of the day, the consumer that makes up the bulk of our business. It's, of course, there's always going to be a huge amount of event-based business, right? Someone who has a nice dinner that they're going to on a Friday night, or an event on a Saturday night that they want to get a blowout for.
Prom, or yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Any number of events, but really the bread and butter of our business is the consumer who doesn't want to do her hair herself. And she wants to come in at 7 o'clock on a Monday morning and drink her cup of coffee and get her hair blown out while she's working on her computer, multitasking, or just relaxing, to take it off of her plate. And that's where that membership piece really comes in, because that's the guest that's coming in, likely once a week, maybe once every other week. They're probably using our dry shampoo and our products intermittently in between to make their blowouts last. But really that is the core of the model. It's that membership piece. So they're paying a monthly rate to get, 2 to 4 blowouts a month. They of course get discounts on products and additional services. But that is really what makes this model go round. And of course that event-based business is just the icing on the cake. And so that membership piece and really the model itself is really, kind of back to that support and infrastructure that we provide. We want our franchisees very focused on their team and creating that culture in their shop and retaining their team. And so we take a large majority of the additional pieces off of their plate. So we really manage a lot of the marketing components for them. Of course, all of the branding components. We still want them to create, a local presence on social media and all of those other components of the business. But we really take most of kind of the nitty gritty off of their plate from a marketing perspective, especially. And then of course, on the real estate and site selection piece off of their plate so that they can focus on their team.
Now you touched upon the branding and marketing, but what else do you do to set them up for success?
Yeah. So the really kind of launch process, of course, starts with your team. So we have a team at the WellBiz level who helps them in launching their recruitment efforts online, of course, starting to build relationships with local cosmetology schools so they can start to have that as a referral source and a funnel for stylists. But that is the biggest piece to the puzzle, right? It's getting that capacity in the shop so that we can perform those services. So we lay that foundation with them, help them to really start that recruitment process, know what to look for. You know, we can train blowouts, and we do train blowouts. And so what we can't train is personality or culture, right? So we really look for, or help our franchisees know what to look for, to find the right people to continue to create that culture and onboard that team. So kind of in conjunction with that, we're launching digital marketing campaigns to really start building brand awareness in their market and get that inbound lead flow starting. And then from a high level, of course, we manage all of the ongoing branding and really marketing collateral components. So seasonal campaigns, as well as really the national public relations pieces, all the things that drive up that national brand awareness that can only help the local franchisees. So really helping them to maintain a steady flow of new customers, and then of course, new and engaging and exciting campaigns that keep their existing members coming back in the door, down to, you know, additional products that our partners launch in the shop, that just keep it exciting for both stylists and also the guests coming into the shop. And then all of our locations have a dedicated operational business coach as well. And so that person is really their right-hand man on an ongoing basis. So helping them with any questions that they have in the business, anything that they possibly could need from a support standpoint. We have monthly webinars really going through best practices in the business, really relaying anything that they could be doing to drive business into their locations. And then, you know, of course, on a yearly basis, we have a national conference, which is just such a phenomenal point in time for franchisees to get together, for us to share continued education. But I think that's, you know, of course, one of the biggest benefits. And I think this is probably even more so the case with Drybar. There's such a tight-knit, just incredible group of franchisees that have always been a great resource for each other. And so, you know, I think that's another big job of us as the franchisor, is to continue to help connect franchisees with each other so that they can also be, you know, a sounding board for each other, a continued resource. So
Share
we do
best
that.
practices.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, exactly. They're in it day in and day out. So they're, you know, of course, our best ideas come from our franchisees as well. So they are such a great resource for each other and for us. And it's just such a really neat collaborative network of franchisees, which you don't always get.
When you look at a new location or a new city to bring in a Drybar, what kind of demographics are you looking for? Is there a minimum population, working women? Like what's kind of the mix that you're looking for?
Yeah, so definitely, you know, we're looking, I would say from a high level, from a population standpoint, I think that, you know, 50,000 would be the bare minimum. But what's way more important is the demographic and the psychographic makeup of the population. And of course, the density of that in about a 15 to 20 minute drive time radius of the trade area that we would be looking at going into. So that would generally be a breakdown of, so really our core customer is going to be 35 to 45. So we want a high density of course, that age demographic. And then we break it down far more granularly into psychographics. So what are their buying behaviors, the specific household makeup? Do they have kids? Are they working professionals? There's actually an incredibly broad range from a psychographic perspective in our consumer data, which is great, right? It means we can locate in a lot of different types of locations. We can attract a lot of different individuals from all walks of life. So, really, it's fairly broad, but we do index really highly on about 15 psychographic segmentation profiles. And I think there are, close to 100 of those. So it's still fairly broad, but then of course, from a marketing perspective, we can get even more granular.
That's fascinating. So are there any growth goals that you can share for us?
Yeah, I think for the brand, we want to continue what Drybar has always done, which is finding the right partners in the right markets, vetting them heavily to make sure that they are the right partners, and really growing smartly. So, we don't necessarily have a number of locations that we want to get to, because it's all kind of dependent on the right partners. So, I think we will likely award, anywhere between 20 and 30 additional licenses this year and start the development and opening process with those franchisees. But, the culture and the right fit is far more important to us than hitting a number. Of course, our success is our franchisees' success and vice versa. So when we find the right partners and set them up for success, then of course that's everyone's success. So that's really where our focus is, rather than, a specific number goal. But really it's not growth for growth's sake, but growing smartly and with the right partners.
Now, with all these other beauty and wellness brands in your mix within your company, are there any plans to do any cross marketing between those, or
absolutely
exist already?
Yeah, they do exist already, especially, in markets where we have several locations of each brand. And that becomes, we have essentially programs that we launch that really help those local franchisees join forces. So what does that reciprocal marketing campaign look like? And generally it's a discount at each, and they're kind of cross marketing. They've also done joint events. So, we've just barely brushed the surface on it. There's so much opportunity for that, because of course they all have very similar customer profiles, right? So it's just, yes, that's absolutely part of the vision, is to just continue to foster those reciprocal marketing opportunities.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and your plans. And it's great to hear that, coming after the year that was 2020, that growth is on the mind and that you're doing well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Stacy.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.